different variety of gestures and that type of thing. Then they also have a portion of the evaluation that is mainly focused on the message and what they heard. So our first evaluator, who will be evaluating Rick's speech, is Barb Grenade. Take it away, Barb.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, our most welcome guests, and Rick. I am so excited to have evaluated Rick's speech. So let me tell you a couple of things of what I'm looking for. This is a storytelling speech. So I wanted to look at, did I get the message? Did I understand the story? What was the crux of the matter? And was there a change involved? So let's talk about the opening. So Rick, you set the scene, and I understand you put yourself in the story, and then proceeded to set up key factors to emphasize what your problem is. Who you are. You're the fixer, and that sets on how you're going to attack the problems you present. I thought that was a key point. Also, what is the problem? And it starts with the problem of reading and evolves from there. So throughout your body, I felt that I was beside you in the journey, and that's also a key point. I wasn't just watching it from afar. I knew it was successful in reaching me because at one point, I just wanted to give you a hug. Then I know that's touching. Reiteration helped make the points. Go to the movies, that's fun, that's fun, that's fun. Because then you can present the other side to it. A couple of minor suggestions on this. When you explained your route home, I think it would be more effective to not have so many details. Driving west along this highway, by this place, because I'm trying to picture it and figure out where you're at. Where I think you would have said, it would have been more effective if you'd said, 5 miles to home, this is what I heard. Because later on you could reiterate that on by 5.9 miles going home, I heard this. So it's a simple point to reiterate without having the superfluous details. So I have a couple of suggestions. First on the physical. I would like to have had you not stand in front of the screen that also showed you, because there was a lag time between the two. And I thought, good heavens, you know, the 60s have come back to all of us. So that would be a suggestion, just move it over, which also would have helped with my second suggestion on the physical. Depending on where you stand in that room, I find the audio has less clarity than virtually. So when you were standing, and particularly when you turn away from the mic side, there were times I found I couldn't quite hear the words at the end of the sentence. They would drop off. And when you're in that situation, you just may have to enunciate some points a little clearer. Your word usage and descriptors were excellent, and you painted just enough of certain scenes that I could fill in the rest myself. And that was a key point based on your first speech that you gave us about storytelling. So you didn't give us too much there. You didn't tell us what anybody was wearing, what they were doing, even what they were feeling. I would like to have had a little more of what you were going through yourself. And I believe it would help you for really stress the point to the beginning, the one point that, hey, if your kids read, then they're going to be successful in life. And it's basically, that's the end of all our problems. And that would help create that juxtaposition of the other end when you can't fix, and the inability to fix your son's addiction. And for your conclusion, I'd love to have had a stronger statement of what you learned in your role as the fixer, since you established that such a strong trait in the beginning. What was the lesson you learned coming out of it? Now, the message I got from your speech was this: no matter how hard we try, how much we want things, There are times when there are things out of our control and we cannot fix it. The best thing we can do is be there. How I judge stories is this. If it's a good story, I just want to curl up and I want it to go on and on and on. But I still want it to hurry up and end so I can find out what the conclusion is. And that's what one of these was. I wanted to hear more later on. I wanted you to talk for an hour about all that you went through and where things are, but I wanted to find out how it is. So well done, great demonstration, and I am so glad that I got to hear this story, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you, Barb, for a wonderful evaluation. Before we move on to our second evaluator, I'd like to open it up for a round table. If you have some comments you would like to share with Rick, you can unmute and share those now. Grace has one. Might have to come.
Come on up, Chris.
Brenda has her hand
Oh,
Brenda, while Grace is walking.
up. Yeah, that's.
Brenda, while Grace is walking up here, why don't you go ahead and share your thoughts?
Okay, Rick, I'd just like to say the story carried me along the course that a story would normally go. You know, it kept my attention and everything. And then to hear what the heart of the story was. First of all, it wasn't just addiction. That's a whole separate story. But the fact that it was a loved one, the fact that it was your son. And so for those of us that are parents, particularly of adult children, particularly those that did not choose to do what we told them to do, it is a very captivating story. And it catches, it's a hook that from a perspective, we think it's a baby boomers. I thought it's like this is a baby boomer story, but no, I forget there is another younger generation that has adult children too. And so this captures a large segment of a demographic. And it also addressed things that people generally think, well, this just happens among poor people or a certain demographic, but I thought you brought it through, you personalized it, and that's the thing with any story. People want their stories to be personalized, even if it's only in their imagination. But every story begins in one's imagination, but it has to captivate the heart and the spirit. So I appreciated you doing what a story does on that level of a storyteller opening up a certain vulnerability. And when you share your vulnerability with the world, cause look, I grew up with the thing is, you don't talk outside of the house. You got people with mental health problems, with physical problems and stuff, and I'm a product of mine. So to hear that, now we can say it. We can say this is like such a thank you for sharing that. It's like it's like a flashlight in the darkness of a lot of people's lives, in their personal stories, and for several decades, not just for baby boomers, but those before and those coming. Thank you. I thought it was I hate to say a great story, but an authentic story that struck my spirit and my heart.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brenda. Now Grace can, I don't know where the right place to stand
I know,
is.
the same thing. Let me see, I think, can they see me? Am I in an okay place?
They can see you better over there.
Oh, really? They,
Because the camera's on the
here.
laptop. Wow.
I know.
go back over there.
Come.
They won't be able to see you,
Okay.
just talk.
Okay, so, a lot of what I was gonna say is what Brenda already said, but the one thing that I would just say is that I've heard Rick speak many of times, and a personal challenge that I gave him was to get inside of himself and get vulnerable, and to have an experienced speaker be willing to step outside of their comfort zone and go that deep. I just applaud you, because I told Rick, I said, you know, everybody knows the fixer. They know the fixer. But what they miss and what they often don't get to see is your heart. In your next speech, I would love to see your heart. And to see him go and dig deep, this would have been amazing for anybody to have done, but to see this particular fixer go that deep, I know that was real work. So I am just so proud of you, my friend. Thank you.
Can I say something real quick?
Yes, Andre.
Brenda and Grace have spoken well. Just a couple of quick things, and Grace, you're so on point. I was like, it's like I could see the video as Rick was talking, those sieves that he talked about, and it's like I felt like I was at Worlds of Fun, because I went on this roller coaster ride with him, and he was up, and then he'd take it down, and he'd have those moments of fear, and then he was back up, and you know, but the one thing I would say,
They can't hear a word.
I done did all of that and they can't hear me. Are you kidding me?
It's like asking them, can you hear? Can you hear? Because I go here and hear.
So I'm trying to take her off.
Y'all can't hear?
Just go to view and put gallery view. Go to view at the top right and put gallery view. Or speaker. But you put them on
It's
mute.
on speaker.
Put it on gallery.
Put it on
Go to
gallery.
gallery, that way you can see everybody. Oh, now Barb says that you
Now
can
go
hear
in. Now say what you say.
Can you hear me? Oh, y'all missed a tree. I had given y'all some good stuff. I'm tired now. But I was gonna say, Brenda and Grace spoke well. The couple of things that Rick does so well is his words paint a picture. And it's like I could see this video just rolling in front of me as he was talking. And I love the roller coaster ride. Some parts were up, and you know, there really was the part where he really just got so intense. I was getting a little nervous, you know, in here, but I love that, because the thing that I think we have to master is bringing in all the different components to help us tell the story. The body language, the volume when it's appropriate. And the one thing I'm gonna recommend to Rick, if he does this speech again, because the change, Brenda, that Rick talked about earlier, I would call the speech reading and comprehension. Because you can talk about the progress that your son's made, but you can talk about the progress you as a parent made as you learned that you were having a problem reading and comprehending some things also. So just a thought.
Yeah.
Well, Barb got the message. It's about control. Well, I can't control everything I think I control.
Yeah.
That's hard as a fixer.
Yeah.
I get it.
It's a different angle, but I like that too.
I don't fool with Rick, I'm through.
Reading and comprehension, I like that.
All right.
Now he likes.
Any other comments before we move on to our next evaluator? No? Okay. Our next evaluator is Darren Yarborough, and he will be evaluating Chris Mason's speech. Darren.
All right, thank you very much. And especially thank you, Chris. I am so grateful that I had a chance to hear your speech tonight. I've got to be honest, the kind of speech you gave is one of my favorite kind of speeches. It's a story that helps us to laugh, it lifts our spirits, and it just gives us a chance to loosen up and just relax on a Friday night. So well done in so many ways. You talked earlier about, before your speech, you were talking about the different genres, and you mentioned cartoons, how, and in a cartoon, everything is way far out. You think, okay, coyotes don't usually walk on two legs, and roadrunners don't run faster than cars. That's one level of tall tale. But you brought it a little closer to us, and you gave us a level of tall tale that is a little more approachable and touchable. I put this story in the same category as